Hi, it's Lynne Golodner, and welcome to the Make Meaning podcast. I'm a writer and entrepreneur, and through decades of writing articles for magazines and newspapers and authoring books, I've learned that we succeed through inspiration from storytelling and deep and mutually beneficial relationships. This show began in 2018 after my father was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and I wanted a way to capture his stories and record his insights. It's grown since then to share stories of how people around the world make meaning from very ordinary pursuits. Now I focus on sharing the stories of writers, authors, and those in the world of publishing to learn how and why we create stories that help us make meaning from the mundane. I'm a former journalist and marketing entrepreneur, and I've been teaching writing for more than 2 decades. As a writing coach, I help authors build their brands and share their words. I've had 8 books published already, and I just finished my second novel, so stay tuned for news about when and where you can read it. If you'd like to write with me, check out my offerings at lynnegolodner.com, and you'll find more episodes of this podcast at makemeaning.org, as well as on every podcast platform you can think of. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts. Thank you for tuning in to the Make Meaning podcast, where you'll find stories of courageous people daring to share their talent with the world. Now, on to the show. Desiree Cooper has been a Kresge Artist Fellow, an attorney, and a Pulitzer Prize nominated journalist. Now she writes books that win awards and grab hearts. Today, I speak with Desiree here on the Make Meaning podcast about her long and successful writing career and why she describes her lifelong writing as genre agnostic. Desiree Cooper, welcome to the Make Meaning podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Been looking forward to this for a while.
Oh, me too. I really feel very honored because I've been sort of like stalking you online, following you for years, and feel like I know you thanks to social media, but it's just a real honor to speak with you. And I have so many things to ask you. So I'm going to just jump in. You know, I was interested when I was planning and preparing for this interview, I was reading through your notes, and you said that you've never not been a writer, that it's what you've always wanted to be. So I want to start with that and ask you about your upbringing and how you came to this self-definition of writer.
You know, there's only 2 kids in my family, my younger brother and myself. Mm-hmm. And from a very, very young age, he's been very artistic and mechanical at the same time. Voila, he's an architect. And from the very beginning, I've been like a reader, writer. I not only wanted to read ravenously, which I did from a very young age, but I was also sort of producing my own stories like I did all of my greeting cards. I wrote poems I wrote letters. I wrote notes to my mom when I couldn't find the courage or the words to say things. And I mean, from a little girl. So she would find notes in her sewing kit. And so for me, you know, that writing it down was part of the whole process. It wasn't just devouring the books, but also the words coming out. My language was a written language from the beginning. So when I really discovered, I think by the time I got up to like chapter books, which was pretty young because I was, I was reading very early, then this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, Lynn, I'm still saying I want to write chapter books, and I'm 62 years old.
You got this. You can do this, you know?
I have yet to do it. I've done a whole bunch of other writing, but I haven't gotten there yet. So there's still some work for me to do while I'm on this earth. So
Yes. Well, it's funny. I totally know what you mean because, you know, when I'm writing, it's like I can really think about my words, think about what I want to say, but I'm not good verbally until I've thought it through. And that's like how I work with the words. I bet you're like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've had bosses that were like called external processors. So whatever they were thinking came out of their mouths, and they were like, well, we could actually clear off that bookshelf and and then we'll do this. And then if we added like 2 or 3 more people to staff, and I would go back to my office like, oh my God, I got to clean this shelf. I got to, and they'd come back and say, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, you said this in the meeting. They're like, well, I was thinking, I was just saying it. Well, for me, if it comes out of my mouth, it's already been processed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's not my first thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard. I've had to learn how to, you know, understand that not everyone works that way.
Yeah.
And leave time, you know, for people to change their minds because they're processing out loud.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love how you say that, and I'm quoting you here. Humans need to communicate and they need to be heard and understood. Sometimes writing provides me with that profound sense of connection. So tell me about experiences you've had with readers of your writing and how it's become a two-way conversation.
Well, I would say, you know, thanks to social media, you know, and I started writing professionally and getting my words out there before there was social media, but email had begun to evolve. And so instead of that, I would get, when I was a columnist at the Free Press, I would get these handwritten letters, and sometimes they'd be long. And sometimes they would be with pictures. And people would say, you know, something like, I hung that column up on my refrigerator, you know, door, or, you know, thanks for, in my column, I often wrote about what I always call ordinary people doing extraordinary things, which is pretty much everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've learned.
Yeah.
And so, like, I remember elementary school janitor had passed away, and the school was devastated. And all these stories came out about how he loaned kids, you know, this sounds a little creepy now, but loaned kids money. Give them $5, or if he saw someone didn't have shoes, he'd bring shoes to school. You know, just like being just so generous. And his widow sent me the column I had written about him, and a picture of him on his last day alive. And on that day, he was in a floaty on the lake, having the time of his life. And the water was sparkling and he was smiling. I didn't know this guy. I mean, I knew him for the amount of time it took for me to ask people about him and put it in the paper.
Yeah.
And to have such an intimate sharing of how special he was. You know, it felt like I did know him, and that he was special and deserved, you know, for other people to know how wonderful he was. So my columns were always, I feel, as much as I could do them, as intimate as possible. And I was always the bridesmaid on the second news page, because there's a constant pressure for me to write something newsy. The mayor didn't do this, the taxes are this, you know, blah, 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 you know. And I'm like, well, this is my news. I'm sorry. You know? This is my news and it belongs here. So I had to always fight for that space and try to tell those stories that made us all feel like, God, that sounded just like my uncle. Yes, I know that woman. Wow, I've been there a million times before. And the more I did that, the more there are no news stories. There are only, I think, maybe stories that sometimes we're ashamed to share, but everybody has that same one. So those are the ones I like to write that do connect us as humans.
Yeah. So your first children's book, Nothing Special, debuted in the fall of 2022. So tell me about this book, how it came to be, where the idea came from, and how it's been received.
Well, I'll start at the end. It's been received just beyond my wildest dreams. It's been extraordinary.
Amazing.
So the book has been about 3 years in the making, and that always is so shocking to people. It's not 700 words altogether. That's about 3 pages for anyone that doesn't know what that means. And, it's a picture book. And so it's just crazy how long it takes to pull, that together, because it's such a team effort. I got the idea at a writing retreat where I happened to be there on the invitation of a very celebrated children's author and poet, Marilyn Nelson. And I was stuck on a memoir, which I'm still stuck on 5 years later. She says, well, why aren't you writing for children? She was almost like, you're better than that. Like, can't you write for children? Like, it's the pinnacle of things that you should be writing. Like, it's not it's not like a sidebar, and it's not just throw something out there for children, but it's like, she was like, it's the best thing you can do is to write for children. And that took me back to, Lynne, actually the beginning of our conversation about how much those books ignited in me as a child.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's right. I mean, maybe I go back to the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I spent the rest of that retreat. It was a week. I spent the rest of that time like, what story would I tell? And blah, blah, blah. And I settled on the friendship between my grandson and my dad. So that's a great grandfather, great grandson. And just how weird it is, because I moved back into my parents' house from Detroit, where I had made my whole adult life, back to Virginia, where they had retired in their home. They both had Alzheimer's at the same time.
Oh, you poor thing. Oh, I'm so sorry.
And so the best way to deal was not to move them, up north to Detroit, but to move in. So I did. And I watched these two with him, later in life, just really bond with this little kid. And my mother, who is the nurturing one, was annoyed with her Alzheimer's. Like, all that noise and stuff was very jarring for her. So I would have expected her to love the babies, but it was my dad, of all people, military man, very regimented, very formal guy.
Yeah.
So these two became buddies, and I wrote about that. And then later I met this fabrication artist. The best way to describe her work is like, you've seen the stop animation. The claymation is what a lot of people know or familiar with. Well, this is more like with puppets, except that it's not just the puppet. She makes every single thing in the scene, the house, the trees, the flowers, the butterflies, whatever's in that scene is handmade from textiles and then photographed. And so I talked with her. I told her the story. The word Nothing Special, the title comes from a little boy comes from Detroit to visit his grandparents in Virginia. He thinks he's going to go to the mall. And so the story is a little boy comes from Detroit to visit his grandparents in the country in Virginia. He thinks he's going to do everything that he does in the city, the mall, the zoo, just have a good old city time, the movies. And his papa goes, I think we'll do some of the things I did when I was a boy. And Jack says, what's that, Pop? And Pop says, nothing special. And so they keep doing nothing special things that, of course, turn out to be very special. Like crabbing and making kite by hand and shucking corn and counting fireflies and things like that. And so Beck and I, who is that fabrication artist I was talking about, we always just said, wow, this is really special. It's not nothing special. It's really, because the more she made the characters based off of my actual family, the more my dad came alive. He died in 2020 and he never saw this book.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And that relationship evolved in these pages. And it's just been so special. It was so special that I even launched the book in our yard, because I'm in the neighborhood where my parents lived on the same street for 50 years. And all the neighbors knew my dad and my mom.
Yeah.
They didn't know me as well, because we moved in the neighborhood when I was in high school, and I moved away, after that, never really lived here and lived in Detroit. So, so all these old timers came out to the launch party, and we just had like a block party to launch the book. And it was just so amazing, since they all knew my dad, and they would look at the book and go, that's him.
I love that. That is, I've gotten chills like 5 times since we've been talking, and it's just like so special. That's so cool. So how's it doing? Early reports of, successes and sales. Do you know any of that?
I don't know the sales, but I'll tell you, I've probably sold about 200 copies, like out of my bedroom.
That's awesome. That's great.
There's so many people that have asked for a copy, and family has been very supportive. I am the featured book in the children's section with the Miami Book Fair.
Wow.
November 14th. And that's a good place to land. And I've done a couple of book fairs and presentations already. It's a starred review on Booklist.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been a great start. There's an undercurrent to the story that I think is also resonating a lot with African American families.
Okay, talk about that. Tell me about that.
Yeah, and I think that's one reason why it's got like a little special hook into that particular community. So people are probably very familiar with the term the Great Migration, and that was between 1917 and 1970. I didn't realize it went that long until I started to do some research. But so during the Great Migration, great populations of African Americans left the South for the North and even the West. Some even went to Mexico, which a lot of people don't know.
Interesting.
Of course, getting away from Jim Crow, segregation, and the terrorism around white supremacy in the South.
Yeah.
They came to North for opportunities. So they really came in millions to cities like Detroit, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. And what people don't realize a lot is that they were leaving terror.
Yeah.
They were not leaving their families. They were not leaving their homes. They were not leaving their culture. If they could help it, they were not leaving their land.
Yeah.
They held on to all of that. Sometimes you will hear people talk about Detroit and maybe these other cities as well as up South, because they do have such a Southern feel to them.
Yeah.
So to maintain that connection, which was often kind of traumatizing, you don't think of African Americans as being an immigrant community, but they were immigrating. They did still speak English in most places, but not even the same English.
Right.
So Black families have a tradition in the northern cities of getting back in that car and going back down south every summer. Now it might be flying back, but for many, many decades, it was you're going to drive back. And that's where you get those stories about the Green Book and, how travel was because they were driving from north to south. And so this was a big tradition, as is the family reunion. History has divided us so often, separated us from the continent of Africa. Then once we're here, separated our families as they were created through enslavement. And then after Reconstruction, there was a scattering. And then again at the Great Migration. And so there are so many stories of people who are formerly enslaved looking for their family, or going back to find their family. So we do that still, but we don't really know how ingrained it is from a historical perspective. We go back every summer south, and so many Detroiters have that story. And that's what this story is. This is the grandchild going back the way his parents did. Back south to see the grandparents and to remain connected to those roots. So I call that the Great Reverse Migration. And then it even has another twist in my family, because around the 50s, some of those who were leaving the South chose to enlist in the military.
Right.
So there were countless of African American men in particular. I think the armed services were desegregated in 1948.
Okay.
And so after that, so between like 1950 and the Vietnam War, it was all about escaping Jim Crow South for opportunity. And so you will see in Nothing Special, Pop wears this hat, embroidered hat all through it. It's almost until the last page that you can really see what the embroidery is. And it says U.S. Air Force veteran. And so we tried to make sure that that was represented, like that part of the story was represented. There's also a scene in the book where Jax is getting up in the morning and Pop-Pop comes in to wake him up to start their exciting day. And you will see Jax has on a University of Michigan t-shirt.
Woohoo, go blue. Yes,
I
love
know.
it.
He's a Michigan fan. So we just put it on him in real life. So we put it on him in the book. And then and there's a University of Virginia college pennant on the wall.
Okay.
And I went to the University of Virginia to law school.
Okay.
And so, but they're there not just for Easter eggs about my own family experience, but also the representation of how military participation in the military was an economic ladder for opportunity for families. So that shows that the family was able to achieve, like a middle-class life, a college education. So that was part of the scene. And the backstory that I think a lot of families will recognize. Black families will recognize for the history I just said. And then other families will recognize it as that intergenerational connection that is so important for families and children.
I love it. I love it. This book is so amazing. And, we'll of course put links in the show notes so people can buy copies, but it sounds not only special to your family, but like a true American story and in so many ways. And I just love it. I just love it. So I wish you so much success with this book. But I want to talk about some of your other writing, if you don't mind. I know you've described yourself as genre agnostic, which I love. I think that is so original. So I want to ask you if you feel that writers need to brand themselves in a particular style or voice or genre to build a following. And of course, I'm asking this, but I'm assuming that you don't believe that, but you'll tell me. So I just want to know, piggybacking that question, how have readers found you? And are they sticking with you because they love your voice across genres?
It's a tough question. The branding is so important to the marketing of books. And you're kind of a dodo head if you keep thwarting your own marketing, your own brand. Like that is the most unsmart thing to do that I have done. But my first book was published when I was 56. I turned 56. And I don't feel like I have a lot of time to mess around. So I'm going to try everything I want to try.
I love it. I love that. Yes.
It's my first, and also I'm blessed to be at a phase in life where I don't have to depend on my writing for my bread and butter. I've, the whole rest of my life was holding down not even 9 to 5s. We all work like crazy people and they're raising families and stuff. So I'm just at a time in life where I can take a little more time and play. And so that's what I'm doing. If I was doing this at 30, or 20, I might go ahead and pump out a few, of the same kind of genre. That being said, my first book, again, all the marketing no-nos, my first book was a collection of flash fiction that nobody even knows what that is.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you about that next. So that you're talking about Know the Mother, right?
Yes, it's called Know the Mother. Flash fiction are little stories, like 3 pages long, under 1,000 words, 3 to 4 pages long. And they're not a vignette, like they don't just paint an image. They do tell a story. There's a beginning, middle, and end and a plot. But a lot of the plot you might have to infer or deduce from what you're given of the story. And so for some readers, they may not feel complete because you're not given the end. You have to take the end and see how it hits you, or where it hits you. Because they can be very powerful because they're very dense. stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, my first book is a collection of those, which is it's like between a poem and a short story,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
they're small. And I think kind of a risk. And that book did pretty well.
Mm.
And I think that part of it was because I was a columnist
Mm-hmm.
with the Free Press, and people were used to reading me short anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it built upon people that already knew me in that capacity
Mm-hmm.
to more of a national audience. So I built, from my smaller audience out, and it did very well.
Yeah.
So I am still writing flash fiction, and I'm writing essays. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought that my next book would be a second collection, but
Mm-hmm.
then this book, Nothing Special, the idea hit and it just bloomed faster.
Yeah.
And I was very worried that people that knew me as a flash fiction writer
Mm-hmm.
would say, it's a children's picture book. Come on. It's like they'd say, I don't know any kids, or I don't have any kids. So that's nice. And
Uh-huh.
that's not what has been happening.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think people who enjoyed Know the Mother are taking a little risk
Mm-hmm.
and seeing what this next thing looks like, even if they don't have. I have been to a lot of signings where I'm like, okay, who do you want me to sign it? And it's not to Billy, and it's not to little
Uh-huh.
Molly. It's like,
Uh-huh.
sign it to me. It's my book. I want it. So I
Yes.
have adults who are buying it because they want to have it. And that thrills me, because I feel like I still have children's books that
Mm-hmm.
my children never touched.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have my own children's book. Like, I never got past that kid reading those books, and they are precious to me. And they're too precious for those dirty little hands and for them to just spit on and rip the pages. I'll get another copy for them, but I have my own children's books. So some
Yes.
of them just point the way to so many important things that we forget as we grow. And I
Yes.
just love holding on to that. And so I'm glad that people are seeing that Nothing Special is also for their own inner child as
Yeah.
well as for other
Yeah.
children. That's
Yeah.
pleasing me a lot. But the other thing is, I am 62. My peers are 62. Everybody's a grandparent. Not everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
we're of that age
Yeah.
where there's a
Yeah.
lot of grandchildren in the world,
Yep.
or
Yep.
people that know younger children that want to share. So
Yeah.
as it turns out, I think that Know the Mother is feeding into this book. And also with
Mm-hmm.
Know the Mother having so many themes about motherhood,
Mm-hmm.
so that the readership, were people that were engaged in that, in that role one way or the
Yeah.
other. So they
Yeah.
were fairly easily convinced to try Nothing Special, or I hope they will be.
Yeah. I mean, I love what I'm hearing you say, because I'm hearing you say that on the one hand, you're going to do it your way. I love the, if you'll forgive me, rebel author, personality. I feel like I have one, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, we only get this one life, so you better make the most of it. And so I'm going to write what I want to write, and I'm the brand, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
But I also am hearing some themes in your writing
Mm-hmm.
that can cross genres and thus bring the audience along with you, which is actually brilliant branding. So I just love it. I think it's original, and it's sort of like, let's do it our way and do it well. And it works because your heart is fully in it, and it's just so authentically you. And I just love that. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's totally by accident. So I wish I had, been a lot more intentional about it, because it would have alleviated so much stress
Yeah.
about what
Yes.
should I do, and is this right, and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
But I do feel good about it, and I feel so comfortable about it.
Yeah.
I even did a short film
Mm.
that got into film festivals,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called The Choice.
Okay.
And it's about exactly what it sounds like. It's about women coming to grips with a choice to terminate a pregnancy.
Ah.
And
Wow.
it comes out of a piece of flash fiction that I did. So the original story was 3 pages long,
Mm-hmm.
and almost every line of the story was a different woman's voice coming
Oh,
from a
wow.
different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Um, about the decision. And so even there, my foray into filmmaking was still around this theme, a little more edgy, a little more political, but still very much about that role of nurturing, caregiving, mother, one life making way for another. That's an obsession for me, because my question is always, what is left for the mother?
Yeah.
I worry about that a lot.
Yeah. Well, I know you've said that you feel that No, the Mother has been your greatest success, even beyond being nominated for a Pulitzer. So tell me why.
Well, journalism was my Plan 49. Because I always wanted to write those chapter books, remember? So I tried a lot of different ideas, like, well, I could be an English major, I could teach, I could da-da-da. And so, but journalism was the only way I could write, and get paid. Like, that's my job.
Yeah.
And yet, even though I got a degree in journalism, it was 12 years between getting that degree and actually my first job in journalism. So I just tumbled into so many other things. And so the Pulitzer nomination in journalism, oh my God, really just wonderful honor. I mean, it's no small feat, and wow. But to publish that book, when that was my heart's desire since I was a little child. I mean, it's on my plan A, that's on my way to plan A, not plan B.
Yeah.
That was extraordinary. And I'm going to tell you something else that will give you chills, Lynne. You ready?
I'm ready. Hit me.
In December 2015. So I turned in my manuscript. Everything's done for this book in 2015, late 2015. December of 2015, I was driving down the freeway in Detroit, headed to my job, and I was sideswiped by a tractor trailer.
Oh my God.
My car spun across 3 lanes.
Oh, wow.
It hit another car head on. My side airbag deployed. I guess off-duty fireman, a fireman who was not on his job at the time, stopped for me and got help for me. And I ended up in the hospital with a traumatic brain injury.
Oh my God.
And while I was spinning and being hit by trucks and cars, here's what I thought. I did not think, oh my God, what's going to happen to my children? My children then were like 20 somethings.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my parents need me, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, I'm not ready to die yet. No, none of those. What I said in my head was, aside from, I think this is going to hurt. I remember thinking, and I said, they can't take it from me now. And I was talking about my book, which came out 3 months later.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. Oh my God. Wow.
So that's how important that accomplishment was to me. I feel like I got it in the nick of time. I just, even if I had died that day, I did it.
Yeah.
I did it. And it was pretty good. I mean, people, it got some recognition. So yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
I did it. So everything else from here on out has been gravy. I'm telling you, like when you look at something like that, it's like been gravy. So I think that just is a testament to how important it's been to me to be a creative writer, not a journalist, which I enjoyed, but a creative writer is what I've wanted. Yeah.
That leads me perfectly into my last question. So it's funny. I was stunned that you said that no one in your inner circle took you seriously as a writer for most of your life, and that even some of your close friends have never read your work. And then, of course, I literally laughed out loud when reading about your parents pushing you into law, because when I was accepted into an MFA program in my 20s, my dad was like, I'll pay for law school. I'm like,
Oh my
well, it's
God.
4 times as expensive. Will you please pay for the MFA? Which he eventually did. And I did the MFA, but he sort of like kept the suspense going and eventually said, okay, fine. But so I totally relate to that. And I wondered what brought you at the age of 35 to confidently and finally claim, I'm Desiree Cooper and I'm a writer. Like, what was that pivotal moment that finally gave you that courage to say, this is who I am?
I think at 35, I stopped trying to quit writing. I don't know if it was that particular age, but around then, I would write furiously. I was always in writing groups. I wasn't really submitting, I don't think, at that time. It's just what some people run,
Yeah.
whatever that hobby is. It was more than a hobby. It was like I would get a physical, I do liken it more to exercise, because people who exercise a lot get a physical high that from doing it, but they also get a withdrawal if they don't do it.
Yeah.
Like something in their bodies just feels, it's tight, it's uncomfortable. That's how I felt when I didn't write.
Yeah.
And when I did write, I felt I got high. I was buzzing. I was so excited. Everything was great.
Yep.
Even if nobody saw it.
Yeah.
And so I would always just say, I'm not doing it anymore. It's like, it's torturing me because I want to sit down all day, but I can't. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. By the time I sit down, I'm tired. The feeling's not there. And it was just always off and on. I said, I'm done. And I would do that. But then within a month or so, I'd be right back. And I just said, why am I fighting? It's not going away.
Yeah.
I've got to actualize on this and give myself permission to be this.
Yeah.
And it still took me, Know the Mother, no joke, was a 30-year process, because not because of the actual time to write the stories, but the actual time to have the right stories.
Yeah.
It took 30 years for me to have enough time and enough maturity to get those stories on paper.
Thank God you did. I'm so glad. So as our conversation comes to a close, I wonder what advice you might offer to aspiring writers.
Well, I always say it's kind of hard to take lessons from my life, and maybe that's in general, because everyone has their own twists and turns. But I'd say the most important thing is, if you can't not do it, then make sure you do it.
Yeah.
Like, don't deny something in you that is undeniable. That's where your talent is. That's where your heart is. That's where you're going to be the most successful.
Yeah.
And so pay attention to those things, even when other people don't have a lot of faith in those. Like, nobody around me, my dad, my Alzheimer's dad, when I was taking care of him, looked at me and said, so when did you become a writer? Are you kidding me?
Do you not know me? Come on,
But no, it's just, like, there was not one person in my inner circle that really understood what was happening inside of me. Not one person.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel misunderstood. I just felt like, wait till they find out. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you did proclaim yourself a writer and really let your heart lead. And I'm so thrilled to have you on the Make Meaning podcast. I'm going to share all the links so everybody listening can buy your books. And I'm really going to be keeping a close eye, continue stalking you, not in a creepy way. And just congratulations. I really love everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so fun to talk to you and to sort of be in the spot of all those wonderful people that you have on your podcast. It's just such a great conversations you have, and so inspiring. So I appreciate to be counted in the number. Thank you.
Oh gosh, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Make Meaning podcast with Lynne Golodner. You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
If you like what you've heard, subscribe and share this episode with the meaningful people in your world. And please leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. You can learn more at makemeaning.org or Lynne Golodner